In 1994, Weezer's debut Blue album was released a month after Kurt Cobain's passing. Weezer's frontman, Rivers Cuomo, was deeply inspired by Nirvana, and has been quoted as saying that Nirvana was one of his favorite bands of all time. Both bands were signed to DGC Records, and Weezer even performed Nirvana covers in their early days. However, Cuomo believes Cobain wouldn't have approved of Weezer's more polished, commercial sound, as Nirvana's style was rougher around the edges. Nirvana may rank among Rivers Cuomo's favorite bands of all time, but the Weezerfrontman reckons that the admiration wouldn't have been mutual, at least on the part of Kurt Cobain. Cuomo looks back on an interesting chapter from Weezer's early days that saw the band performing at small, semi-secret venues under the pseudonym Goat Punishment. Besides covering Oasis songs, the band also once played a show consisting solely of Nirvana tunes. Asked if Courtney Love's approval of their covers would have meant a lot to his Kurt Cobain-obsessed teenage self, Cuomo replies, "Yeah, Courtney is a real icon to our generation and feels like our big sister. You really want somebody like that to approve of what you're doing, and Kurt didn't live long enough to hear us. He died a month before our Blue album came out in April 1994. But I'm assuming he would not have approved of us, but that Courtney does is pretty great." According to Cuomo, Weezer's music didn't seem like the kind of thing that would appeal to the late grunge legend. It seemed like the music he looked up to was rougher around the edges, more punk, and less commercial. Weezer's 1994 debut marked a shift toward pop-punk that was similar but generally cleaner and brighter than grunge, and Rivers doesn't think Kurt would have preferred the change. The Weezer frontman explained that Cobain died before he ever got the chance to meet him. "I would love to have met him, but then again, I was afraid of it, because I was quite certain that he would despise my music and everything we stood for." When speaking to NME, Cuomo said, "It seemed like the music Kurt looked up to was rougher around the edges, more punk and less commercial." Cuomo said he distinctly remembers the first time he ever heard Nirvana as a new employee at Tower Records on Sunset Boulevard in 1990. "The other far hipper employees at Tower kind of educated me," he explained. "I remember they played Sliver for me, and I was immediately in love. It had the aggression that I needed from my upbringing as a metalhead, but paired with strong major key chord progressions and catchy emotional melodies and lyrics that felt so nostalgic and sweet and painful. It just sounded like it was coming from the deepest part inside of me, a part which I hadn't yet been able to come close to articulating in my own music." He later said Nirvana's 1991 release Nevermind inspired Weezer to release their first album.
There's also the theory that Kurt Cobain faked his own death to become Weezer's frontman. According to this theory, Cobain faked his death and came back to become the lead singer of Weezer. Some similarities, according to the theory, is that there was no crime scene photos that show Kurt Cobain's face, and that Weezer's Blue album came out 1 month after Kurt Cobain passed. Some speculate that the two singers look similar. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that one? And that their music has similarities. So what do you think? Do you think Kurt Cobain would have liked Weezer? Rivers says that he doesn't think Kurt would have liked it, but what are your thoughts? Did you like the Blue album? Could you see Nirvana in the future possibly touring with Weezer? I think Kurt Cobain and Rivers could have gotten along and could have been touring buddies, in my honest opinion. I could see them touring with the Green Day, Weezer, that whole bunch, and I think Nirvana could have fit in with Weezer and vice versa. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think? What did you think about Weezer's Blue album that came out right after Kurt Cobain was gone?